I want to talk a little bit about how problematic some drugs are or aren't, depending on different circumstances. So there's always a trajectory of how a drug develops into a problem. Let's say someone who is doing ecstasy, and he's going to do one or two every Saturday night, let's say beginning in January of the year 2010. So if we're going to visit that person 20 years later to see how their use of that drug at that pace had developed into a problem or not, we probably would see a huge amount of devastation or chaos caused by that drug in that person's life. That's just the nature of the drug and how it's used and the impact it has on us and the reasons we use it. Let's say heroin, for instance. So if someone was going to use heroin in January, they're probably going to be needing some support by August. That's because of the nature of the drug, the reasons people are attracted to that drug and they use it, the fact that that drug is physically addictive, and the fact that there's a whole lot of reasons that make it a trajectory from January to about August or October before that drug starts causing significant harm and chaos in a person's life. And so when it comes to chems, what is the trajectory towards harm and chaos? We're estimating to be about 6 years, which is a very difficult, weird amount of time to communicate to people too. In year 1 and 2, when people are doing chems, it's like, wow, you know, it's the best sex I've ever had. They're feeling disinhibited, they're feeling sexy sometimes for the first time, feeling confident in sexy environments, which might be for the first time. It's a real awakening and a real joy. And we might not be so obvious to the consequences at that time. Might be having a good time. In years 2 and 3, maybe it's becoming more frequent. Maybe once a month. Maybe every weekend, building up a little bit. Maybe we're seeing less of our friends. Maybe we haven't seen our mum in a little while. Maybe we're less interested in going to the movies on a Wednesday night with our mates because we're having a come down. Maybe in year 3 and 4, we might be transitioning to injecting. The sex is less pleasurable. It's more like chaotic, like having sex with something, but needing more stimulation and sort of wanting the next person and wanting the next thing and wanting more drugs or wanting the greater high, and this shift happening from the priority being sex to the priority being drugs. And a little more chaos going on there. We might be missing days at work. Our bosses might start to notice. We might not even care. Some of us are losing our jobs. In year 5 and 6, possibly injecting, sometimes home masturbating a lot more than we are actually having sex with people. Sometimes feeling the paranoias that happen on a Sunday or Monday, or feeling them quite intensely. Sometimes some overdoses from G and waking up in hospital sometimes. There's a definite trajectory, not for absolutely everybody, because we all have different ways and self-esteems and backgrounds and ways that we manage, that we identify when something's going to become a problem, and we'll have different ways of identifying that and putting the brakes on sometimes. But a lot of us don't. And there is a trajectory of about 6 years. So if we're trying to explain to someone who's in year 1 and 2 that there is a 6-year trajectory, it's kind of like, no, fuck off, it's fine, it's not like this. But it really, it is important for me to people to understand that these drugs need a particular skill set to manage. And we should go out and get it if we're using chems. And we're talking about a skill set of having boundaries. When to stop? What would I use drugs every weekend, or would I not? If I started doing the midweek, would that be a boundary I don't want to cross? Would I never want to inject? Would I never want to I would do this drug, but I wouldn't do that drug, or I would do them in this environment, I wouldn't do it in that, or I know what my sexual needs and emotional needs are, and I know I can get them met in this environment, but not that environment, so that's a boundary I won't cross either. So having some really serious boundaries to protect us from journeying through the entire 6-year trajectory towards harm is something that is best done with a professional, I would say. So going to get some help, but certainly being mindful of it. But I do want people to understand that there is a real skill set required to manage chems really, really well. So if you're going to use chems, have a great time. You deserve to really enjoy sex, but do get that skill set that's required to enjoy them properly and avoid